you done now?
Movie. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clue the Movie Podcast, the only podcast looking back at the 1985 cult classic movie Clue. We break it down 1 minute at a time. I've changed that up, but you know what? It's because it's been a year. Yeah. 52 episodes. We've been doing it for a year. My name is the Boat Brad Gilmore, joined as always by the General Jeff Smith. Jeff, how are you?
Yeah, that math checks out. 52.
How's it feel, man?
1 year. Wow. It feels not more than a day over 11 months. Sorry. I should point out as we begin this podcast, we were recording this at a very early hour.
Yes.
So some of the voices you hear may seem off, but this was like my childhood dream to do morning radio. So here we are at an early hour for you Cluvians.
And it is a quarter past the hour. It is about.
Let's check in with Wacky Ray Romano. Why is it him? I don't know. Let's check in with the wacky cop. Check it out to see who's broken down on the side of the road. Not a lot of dialogue in this episode. So, but before we get to that, we're recording this the day after Back to the Future Day.
Hey,
October 21st. Yes. So great Scott for you, Christopher Lloyd.
Can I get a great Scott?
That ties to you gotta do it, yeah.
Great Scott!
Imagine if he got paid every time you played that drop.
He probably does.
Oh, great Scott. We should do it all the time. Because I've seen Spirit of Halloween. He needs the money. So Have you heard of this movie?
I have no idea what you're talking about now.
It's brand new. So not Spirit of Halloween, Spirit Halloween. You know the stores that pop up like in the old Toys R Us. So they made a movie, and it's about kids spending the night in a Spirit Halloween, which sounds kind of cool, but it's really not. It's actually quite bad. And Christopher Lloyd is in it, and he plays like an old spirit, but he's not in it all that much. You hear his voice a lot, but I think it's attempting to be like an 80s kind of Goonies Monster Squad. These kids are having this crazy adventure inside the nicest Spirit Halloween store you've ever seen, because they do kind of have a range of quality depending on where you go and what it was. But it's quite bad, and I don't like saying that because I'm sure that the people that made it tried hard to do a good job. But
well, I know
Great Scott is right, but that's I mean it's I don't know if it's streaming on anything, but you could probably find at least somebody on YouTube reacting to it, and you'll get.
Where did you see it?
You know what? I'll be honest. I saw somebody reacting to it.
Okay.
So I didn't even see the whole thing. So
yeah, but you saw enough to make your.
Oh, I saw enough. I saw enough to make a completely unfair opinion that it must be bad because I trusted the anonymous person that was watching it, and they were funny. So I'm like, yeah, I agree with them. But that's not what I was bringing up Back to the Future for, because you just came back from New York where
did.
you got to see Back to the Future, the musical. And I think we need a full report.
So my wife and I went to go see Back to the Future, the musical in New York City, as you just alluded to, in the month of October, no less, which is apropos because that's where Back to the Future takes place, a lot of the big dates in time. And I will say this. So we go to the theater, I'd say not frequently, but often. And this year in particular, we've seen at the tail end of last year, we saw Clue here in Houston. We've seen a Sherlock Holmes. We saw Agatha Christie. We saw To Kill a Mockingbird, Chicago, and there's maybe one other, all within this year. So we had seen a good amount. And I've been to Broadway and seen Mary Poppins on Broadway, Cinderella on Broadway, like I said, Chicago. And I've always been impressed. We saw Aladdin on Broadway, Lion King. I've always been impressed by the quality that the live theater experience brings, especially in New York. I am not only succumbing to my fandom when I say the following statement, but this Back to the Future, the musical, the production of it, the acting, the songs, the choreography, the props, the sets, it is the most impressive live performance I've ever seen from a theatrical setting. It is, Jeff. I'm so serious. Words really do not do it justice as far as the majesty and the spectacle that was Back to the Future, the musical. Now, I thought going into it, like, okay, I know this movie like the back of my hand. How much can they really surprise me? I had not seen any spoilers, not read. I didn't listen to the cast recording. I stayed away from it intentionally. And I'm glad that I did, because there are several changes from the original movie and to the stage play. A lot of some plot details different, some added scenes, some things that we haven't seen before, some changes in the way the time machine works, and a lot of stuff. And I was so pleasantly surprised by it all. And what they're able to do in that theater, at the Winter Garden Theater on Broadway, with the DeLorean especially, was so mesmerizing. And I don't really want to give it away too much. I did a full spoiler review on my Back to the Future podcast. So if y'all want to listen to like literally everything that was different, everything that surprised me, all of it, and you don't care about being spoiled, you can go over there. There might be some Cluevians out there listening right now who want to see the play for themselves, so I'll refrain from diving too deep into the spoilers. But I will say it was sensational, to put it in short.
Wow, put all that on the poster as the review of Brett Gilmore. Do you think, because seeing it obviously in person, you could hear spoilers, but do you think you could hear every spoiler that you do, still go in the theater and just still be blown away?
Yeah, I do.
Because how can you verbally even explain what you saw and witnessed?
Yeah.
To do it justice, probably
right.
impossible.
You will still enjoy it, and if you listen to like the cast recording of the musical that's out on all the streamers, you'll be spoiled by a lot of the plot details, but some of the production aspects, even when words again don't do it justice, especially the DeLorean. What they're able to do with the DeLorean, I was just floored by. And the climactic scene when he's trying to get back to the future was done so well. And dare I say, this is a nice little tease, not a complete, but a 95% different ending to this Back to the Future.
Oh.
Like the ending scene is I'd say 95% different.
In 85.
In 85, yes.
Okay. Well, good. Crispin Glover would be happy about that.
He would be appreciative of it. Yes.
See, there you go.
But anyhow, we're here to talk about minute 52 of Clue the movie.
Oh yeah.
And there's a lot that's happening here. We're starting to see a few things. But I want to start with this. How often during the time that you've been dedicated to this film and talking about it on this podcast, talking about it with friends, family, the like. How many times has someone said, "Oh yeah, I really love Susan Sarandon in that movie"? Because
Oh yeah, all the time. Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a all the
yeah.
timer, right? With
You know
Leslie
what?
Ann Warren.
And I almost asked her that question when I interviewed her, but I didn't. I was it was at the she was my third interview for the Clue documentary, and I was very new to it, and I thought I would hate to offend her like right off the bat, because I don't know how she feels about it. If it's like, ha, 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 I know, or if it's like, I mean, when I go down the street and people say, "Hey, Brad Gilmore," I know how annoying that is for me. So I can only imagine how she feels if she has to be confused with Susan Sarandon all the time. But yeah, that happens all the time, especially with the Rocky Horror Picture Show connection. I've seen whenever somebody posts something for Rocky Horror and Clue next to each other, they go, "Oh my gosh, so many cast members from the same movie," and there's only one, but I know what they mean. They think Susan Sarandon is in Clue.
They do bear
Worst people to be compared to.
No, yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
They bear a resemblance to each other. It's mainly from the hair, right?
It's the hair, yeah.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, I was just curious
So,
because that's
yeah,
something that always comes up. I'm like, no,
right.
it's Leslie Ann Warren.
But, and also, I think during a time when Susan Sarandon was working a lot, she was more on people's radar than Leslie Ann Warren was. So it was kind of, during the 90s and like during Thelma and Louise and movies like that, that's Susan Sarandon. She was all over the place. So I don't know if it would happen as much now because they both kind of, you don't see them as much, but certainly for a while there, that was a big deal.
Wasn't Susan Sarandon in the new Blue Beetle movie? Isn't she the villain? I haven't seen it.
Oh, you know what? You're right. No one has, but I think you're right. I think I remember seeing her on the poster going, "Oh, good for her."
Yeah.
It was kind of like, who was in, there were a couple of people that popped up in things like weird DC movie. I think, is it Lucy Liu in one of them too?
Yeah.
Where
I think so.
she's in something. I'm like, huh, good.
Yeah.
Good.
Well, I'm never mad at more Lucy Liu. Ever. Big fan. Big fan.
You're mad at Lucy Liu?
I'm never mad at it. I said I'm never mad.
You know who is not a fan of Lucy Liu? Bill Murray, but you know this.
I don't know this. Do I know this?
Oh yeah, they had terrible words on Charlie's Angels. He was quite cruel to her, I guess. And she didn't take it. She went total
Lucy Liu.
Kill Bill Volume 1. Yeah. And that's why in Charlie's Angels Full Throttle, Bill Murray is now Bernie Mac. So Lucy Liu won that one.
Which
Google it, everybody.
I will say, if you're trying to upgrade from Bill Murray, it's a difficult task in general because of just, his command of the screen and the comedic art form. Bernie Mac's a great choice, though. Like, if you're going to go try to find a better Bosley, which I think was what his name was in the movie, Bernie Mac's not a bad choice.
Right. You're right. Yeah. Well, Bernie Mac in Ocean's 11 is like one of my favorites. His scene with Matt Damon in the back room. Cracker.
I bet you want to. I bet you want to.
We should do a whole
jack.
And he grabs the air. That's my favorite thing. There's a weird tick he does after he says it. He just grabs the air out of nowhere. It's so weird.
Is that going to be our next podcast? We're going to talk about Ocean's 11.
Ocean's 11, yes, but how much do you hate Ocean's 12?
I don't.
Do you?
know that's a big.
I can't. I was so mad when I saw it.
That's a big thing.
I thought it was. I'm all for people having fun making movies, but not to the expense of the audience. Like, oh, they're having fun. They don't even care. And then they do the twist where Julia Roberts, and you kind of can see it coming, but going, no, and then they do it. Yeah, not a fan. But Clue,
Well, look,
which I think
few,
we'll get to
few,
eventually. This is
few
our
things.
record.
Few things here, though. No, this is what I want to say. So Leslie Ann Warren, or as we like to call her, Law, was
Yeah.
approaching the window. Here's my question to you. So, as an
Mhm.
audience, because I try to think of like what was Jonathan Lynn wanting us to feel in this moment? What is he wanting us to think as a first time viewer? Are we supposed
Yeah.
to think that there really is somebody else in the house?
I know. I don't think I was thinking that as we were watching it. I don't think ever, even as a kid, I ever thought there was somebody actually behind the curtain. It's very obvious that it's just the wind blowing, and she takes a long time to get there, but you're almost just kind of waiting for her to figure out what we've already figured out. There's nobody there. But it's she has to separate from Colonel Mustard in that scene. That's the whole point. Because the next scene that we heard is somebody with gloves destroying the evidence. So now, while they're grouped in pairs searching the house, we got to split up the pairs. So it could be Scarlet, it could be Mustard, and then I'm trying to remember who else is split up at this point. I think Wadsworth and White are split up
Yeah.
now as well. So it could be one of those two as well. So that's the whole point, and then they meet up together again. But yeah, I guess it could have been done a little better. No offense, Jonathan Lynn.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But yeah, I never once thought that there was somebody there.
it was obviously the wind in the moment, but I will say, watching it here at this particular juncture in time, the old school kind of horror way that they shot it, of is kind of giving a little Exorcist in a way of the, she's taking up the right third of the frame, but it's a close up still, and then you have the score intensifying and crescendoing to a certain moment. It did work for me in that perspective, even though I never thought that there was somebody behind there. I believe that she believed that there was someone behind there in the moment, and maybe that's more of a testament to
Yeah.
Leslie Ann Warren than the filmmaking itself. And the other thing to bring up at this about this is this is the first black glove scene we've seen, right?
Yeah. Because the motorist is still down there for now. Cop hasn't made it to the house yet. So this is the first time somebody has snuck off and we get to see their point of view.
I have several
I will
questions.
say that okay, but I will say before we get to that, I do love the look she gives after she like pounces on the drapes, because it looks there's a lot going on in that. It actually, she looks like that's the first time I remember thinking, oh, it might be her. Like, it's so obvious there's nobody there that she could have just been doing that to get rid of Mustard. So when she goes through the motion, in case somebody's watching, I guess, of going up to the drapes and the curtains and pouncing on them, but then she looks back like either she's upset or she's scared or she's just checking to see if anybody's watching because she's about to go burn some stuff. I don't know.
Well,
It's a good look.
on the other thing is interesting is the house, this Hill house, is it's so tidy that Wadsworth, we're assuming, has kept it for the most part. Of course, the basement is going to be, or the a little whatever, or the attic, but
Mhm.
a broken single pane of glass. Like, I have some questions about that because there's this perfect little break in it, enough for,
Yeah.
like, I'm trying to figure out, how do you break glass like that? Like, it's very
In that
carved
weird,
in a weird
yeah,
shape.
Sharpie kind of way. Yeah. What punctured the glass? And was it from the inside or outside? Because there's no glass in the house that we can tell.
It wasn't done
Or how
in
long has it been there? And
it wasn't done in such a way like it looked like it was
yeah.
smashed or a rock went through it.
Mm-mm.
And it was very well cut in a very creepily shape, almost as if it
Yeah.
was done on a set of some kind, where
Well,
glass wouldn't break.
what's
This way.
funny, right? What's funny is this is like the only room in the mansion that is not on a set. That's an actual ballroom. And through my research, I'm almost 100% sure it's the same mansion that they used the driveway for that Wadsworth drives up in Pasadena, California, and they just shot one day, I think, for the ballroom, and it's very. There's not a lot of set decoration to it. I'm sure they just brought in the curtains and the piano, but and then I wonder if the glass close up might have been shot somewhere else.
It could have been, because it seems a little too perfect. The other thing is, shout out to who is it on the movie sets who is in charge of continuity? Isn't there a singular person's job?
Yeah, the script supervisor.
Script supervisor. Shout out to the script supervisor, because that actually just occurred to me that, we're supposed to think that this whole movie happens in a single evening, and the fact that it took several days, weeks to shoot this film, and you never question it at all. Because, over that time, somebody could be eating a lot more, or somebody could be losing weight, not fitting in their clothes properly.
So kudos to the caterer as well, yeah.
Kudos to the caterer. I just think about all the things that could go wrong. Especially those who are, your hair has to be the same, and that's difficult. Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Movie magic.
Now, here's what I wanted to bring up about the black glove scenes. I have a few questions here, or a few comments and questions. Okay. Now, first question. We're supposed to think the person with the black gloves is, I'm asking you, is either one, a person that we have not met before who is the murderer who's been roaming around the house, or two, we're supposed to believe it's one of the characters we've already been introduced to, in your opinion?
Right now, it could be either one. But I think, as a viewer, I think we've given up on the thought that there's somebody else. I think by now we know it's one of them, especially when they start separating, because now it could be anybody. Once they split up, they're just walking through empty rooms right now, and there's never a moment where, like, you hear a thud in the other room or catch a shadow of somebody else. There's really nothing that Jonathan Lynn is doing to lead us to believe somebody has been there this whole time, hiding somewhere, waiting to be discovered.
Yeah, so if we're to believe that it's one of the people in the movie that we've already met, one of the characters, there's so much here that you could pick apart as an audience member, especially the size of the hand.
Yeah.
Okay? And to me, that could be a very telltale sign of who this person might be. So when you look at this scene, and we're seeing pictures of Colonel Mustard for the first time, I guess, as part of the blackmail, and all the blackmails coming together. You see Mr. Body, I think, at one point, the film negatives.
Mm-hmm. You see Colonel Mustard with the motorist.
You see him with the motorist. And you see the black glove. There's moments to where you can kind of tell the size of the hand. And it does not, in my opinion, appear to be the hand of a lady.
Mm-hmm.
It looks to be a sizable hand.
Yeah,
Now, it could be the Seinfeld thing, and she could have man hands. But
she could, but we've seen everybody's hands.
And we don't think that there's any man hands.
Proportionate.
So first off, what do you think about that? Do you think that the hand,
that's
a risky thing to give away? Why do we need to see the hand? Because then I'm looking at the hand, I'm trying to match the glove to the hand.
Right.
As they did in a famous court case. But I'm trying to match the glove to the hand. And I don't feel like it's the property of a lady.
No. In fact, I was just reading the fabulous What Do You Mean Murder? Cult of the Making of a Clue Classic by John Hatch, frequent guest on Clue the Movie Podcast. And I'm not done yet, but it's going to make this podcast so much better because I'm just taking all the information he did all his years of research on and bringing it. No, I'm not going to reveal it all, but he does know his stuff. And he was talking about this very scene where he said there's no record of whose hands it actually is, but he did say that sometimes Jonathan Lynn himself would do some of the off-screen things that didn't require anybody. And if I remember correctly, Jonathan Lynn does have manly hands, not, huge O.J. Simpson size hands, but, large enough that you could tell that they belong to a gentleman. But it's kind of the same thing. Like the Scream movies do this all the time. They use the same stunt double for Ghostface and everything. And the killer never changes their body frame until the mask comes off. And then all of a sudden it could be a very large person. It could be a very dainty female. But when, the Ghostface is running around, he's 6'3" and he can kill anybody and lift people up and throw them across rooms. So I guess they're kind of doing the same thing where, don't judge too much by the size of the hands. I think we're supposed to be looking more at the evidence anyway, because that's where we get to see Colonel Mustard in a picture with the motorist in their army gear. We see Mr. Green walking down some stairs. We see, Mr. Body in a picture. I think that's it. And then the tape recordings from the billiard room. Your favorite, the recordings.
Love the recordings, man. Gotta love the recordings.
You used to bring that up a lot, yes.
Now, here's another question about the hands. I don't want to spend all the podcast on this, but I do have a question. So, okay. They have these black gloves.
Yeah.
Again, I'm eliminating
who brought the gloves?
Who brings the gloves, right? And in my mind,
how are they carrying them around?
And in my mind, that would lead me to think, well, it's somebody who had them already at the house. Somebody's been to the house before. So it really points to Wadsworth, in my opinion. Manly hands, gloves already on.
Yeah.
The butler did it. The biggest trope.
I think you're right. I think Wadsworth did it. I think you're right. I think we figured it out.
But I'm saying, as an audience member, if I'm really trying to put it together logically, and we've talked about the illogicalness of the film in some respects, in regards to the murder mystery, regards, not a word. It just happens like that.
It's early.
I said, it doesn't matter. I was going to go on another sidebar. But as far as this, if I'm looking at it as an audience member, all roads point to Wadsworth, in my opinion. At this very moment in time, I'm thinking 100% it's the Wad Man.
That's a terrible nickname.
Can I get a Great Scott?
Don't ever say that again. 5 cents for Christopher Lloyd.
Great Scott!
All right. I think, a lot of, especially movie murder mysteries, they do cheat from time to time on whodunits. And this just might be one of those cheats that it's something that can work in a novel, an Agatha Christie novel, because you're just reading gloved hands throw things in the fire. But when you see it, it's tricky. And I don't know if it would have been better to just see the evidence and then just kind of see it shuffle around and then suddenly fly without seeing gloves that are doing it.
Or maybe just the fingertips. Give me in this one, it is a lot of
just some fingertips,
like the front part of the hand, the phalanges, if you will. But we see it more and more as it goes on. But okay.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing about the blackmail. We see the picture of Colonel Mustard with the motorist, as you pointed out, Jeffrey Kramer, who, by the way, recently followed me on Twitter. I'm assuming that's your doing.
That's probably your doing.
Okay, one of our doings. Shout out to Jeffrey Kramer. But
absolutely, very nice, Kramer.
But we see the picture of him and Mustard, which is another part of movie making I've always liked, is like the photos that are taken to like set the world up. And I think of like, when were these taken?
When did they do the photo shoot?
When did they do this? Like, where did they do it?
Absolutely.
And no one ever talks about it in any behind the scenes ever. It's like the most insignificant.
Yeah, they never showed the photo shoot day.
But I would love to know about this. Hey, we're here today on set.
There could be a whole documentary about that. Yeah.
About taking the
on the photos that make the world.
Yeah, there you go. You're writing it right now.
Because sometimes they go cheap and they do headshots, and it's very obvious because nobody that's not an actor takes pictures like that. But yeah, those are pictures that were probably done, my guess, on the Paramount back lot, and they just showed up and they had, costumes from something else, and they went, here, go stand on this Jeep, and we're good. And you have to do that first because they have to be there on the set.
Right.
So that's like that's when probably Martin Mull met Jeffrey Kramer.
Yeah, for the first
setting
time.
up their past.
Now,
Yeah.
are we supposed to, as an audience member, clock that, hey, the guy who was in the picture with mustard is the guy who shows up at the door later on? Are we supposed to know that?
In the next room?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, who showed up earlier, excuse me.
Yeah, he's already there. So I think it happens pretty fast. I don't remember the first time I figured it out. I mean, it might have been today. But although Jeffrey Kramer has posted that picture, he has like a good still of it that he's posted on his Instagram before. But yeah, I guess if you really pay attention, it happens fast enough that you might not get that it's him, but you might think, who is he with?
One of the benefits of repeat viewing, kind of like going back to the Future, is there's no way you're going to get all the changes in your first viewing and like all the little Easter eggs. So it's a repeat viewing kind of thing. Okay.
I've got a cool picture that they had to take, the one in Back to the Future where they're all standing in front of the house.
You're right.
They obviously had to do more than once because Eric Stoltz is in one of them.
Yeah, and there's some photographic fakery going on there, according to the doc.
You cut off your brother's hair.
Now, I see you writing this documentary, by the way, in your head right now. The photo shoot of
the photos.
The photos that made the world.
I am.
Now, we then go flash to the cop pulling up on the wrecked car from the motorist. We don't see the cop yet, but he sees the motorist. Now, here's my question again to you, and I'm full of them this morning, but here's my question to you. Are we to believe that that is the cop who Wadsworth claimed that he called and is coming to the house? Or is this a cop who's walking, on the beat, on patrol, comes by a broken down car, figures out that maybe it's somebody from this house up the hill, and let me go investigate? What say you?
I say Wadsworth says flat out that everybody that comes to the door had some information. The cop was from Washington. He was on Miss Scarlett's payroll. And so for the benefit of the audience, he pulls up and gets out of the car in the rain and examines the car. But he really didn't need to. But I think that's why it's good that they cut out the scene of the motorist almost hitting the cat, because that's a lot of, if he's supposed to come to the house anyway, why would he crash his car because a cat jumped out, when we could just assume without that scene that he was supposed to get there at whatever time. He pulls his car over off to the side to kind of make it look like an accident, which is, again, a lot that he has to go through. He could have just parked it in behind a tree somewhere and then gone up and said, my car broke down. But then it's weird because then in a couple scenes later, he's going to be on the phone. So I guess that part, now that we're talking about it, it's all falling apart. Because why, if he was invited, why was he surprised later to see one of them was his old boss? So he must not have known exactly why he was coming up to the house. And maybe it really did break down. But now it's getting weird.
I know it's not
what you did with your questions, Brad Gilmore.
It's not meant to be analyzed as much as we are analyzing it.
No, this podcast should not exist.
It shouldn't, but it does.
No,
for the benefits of
it sure does.
You, I, and our Cluvians, because we like talking about the minutia of it. But it is interesting, and I think that this is a testament. And it's funny that this is the year kind of anniversary of the show, because it is a testament to the format of the show, to where we're like, for realizing parts of the movie that I would have never considered ever. In as many viewings as we've had, I would have never thought about the size of the hands, or where do they bring the gloves, or when do they take this photo, or why is the cop stopping there? But it is a testament to the format, and I hope all the Cluvians who are listening to this are going through the same journey that we are of saying, wow, I've never thought of it this way. And I remember when I first reached out to Jeff about doing this, I think you thought the idea was we talk about Clue for a minute. Right? Isn't that what you thought?
Yes. I'm like, oh, that's going to be a fun podcast. We talk for 60 seconds and then get out. Like, we're going to have to talk really fast sometimes.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's not what we did.
No. And it's just,
on the contrary,
just funny that 52 weeks later and a year plus of us being aware of each other's existence on the planet and still no physical in-person meeting.
Not yet.
I actually feel, we've talked a lot about what are we going to do for the finale. I think that we should be in person.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I think we have to arrange that. Yeah.
I definitely agree. We've got 6 months.
We got 6 months to figure it out.
No,
man.
wait. Is it that long? Yeah, 6 months.
Yeah.
No, wait. No, it's not that
more.
long. Is it?
More.
Is it? Math.
We have 45 more weeks, so almost a year.
Oh, we have that long. Okay, well, good.
But don't be disappointed by it. I'm sure our Clue
No,
fans
I am disappointed.
are happy about it.
I'm disappointed that I have to wait that long.
There you go.
That doesn't mean we have to wait that long.
No.
We can still do. There doesn't always have to be a microphone.
What?
It'd be weird that there isn't. Well, if our paths crossed in real life.
I was like, why would we do the podcast without a microphone? That's kind of defeats the purpose.
Oh, just talk real loud. Talk real loud.
We just talk to each other about it. We do the podcast for the benefit of one
another. This is
another.
episode 53. It's just for us. the lost episodes. Those would be the best ones, unfortunately.
Yes, it would be. But I feel like we've covered.
We'll have all the guest stars.
I feel like we've covered it all.
We covered a lot
for this pod. For a minute with no dialogue. We did good.
0. Yeah, but that cop's coming. Bill Henderson from Fletch.
Yes,
is on his way.
He's creeping up, guys. But you can get Who Done It, the Clue documentary, available now. Wherever documentaries are available. You can get the upcoming John Hatch book, What Do You Mean Murder, on November, is it the 7th?
7th, yeah, 7th. Or you can be cool like me and already have it. But I didn't get it through. There must be others that have it because I pre-ordered it through not Amazon or anything like that. It was like what is it called? Like Book Smart or Book something, or I don't know. And I was not expecting it early. And I don't order a lot of books. So when a book showed up on my doorstep, I thought, well, this has to be John Hatch's book because I don't read anything else. And sure enough, it was. So some of you guys might have your copy out there too.
Oh, wow.
And I'm not done. It's very, very good. And it's definitely, if you've enjoyed John Hatch on our little podcast here, you will enjoy it because he is an excellent writer and his voice comes through, and which is great because it has that feeling of a fan writing about it. It's not, while it's full of incredible information and stats and things like that, but it doesn't come across as like a textbook or anything like that. You definitely know it's a fan excited to be discovering this information with you, the reader.
Well,
so kudos to John Hatch.
I cannot wait until I get a copy in the mail that I pre-ordered. And when that does occur, I'm going to be diving into it. And we're going to both be as educated on these movies as we should be, or this movie.
Finally. Yeah.
Yes. Now, before we wrap up, I do have to acknowledge that Jeff Smith is donning a Gilmore Media hat, which I'm appreciative of.
I am, yes. Yes, thank you for sending that my way, too. I've been getting just such wonderful surprises in the mail this month.
Yeah, well, you're a big deal. Everybody knows it. Everybody talks about it. Everybody knows it.
Yes, I get a Clue book and a Gilmore hat.
Look at you. Look at you, man. But for...
what more do you need?
For Jeff Smith, you can go to cluedoc.com Jeff C. Smith on X. You can find me on all social media at Brad Gilmore. So for the General Jeff Smith, for his morning voice, I'm Brad Gilmore. For my seasonal allergies, this has been minute 52.
A healthy episode
of Clue the Movie Podcast, and we'll be back next week with minute 53. Because that's how math
Great Scott.
works. Great Scott. Can I get a great Scott?
Oh boy.
Great Scott!